Hey guys, Sean here and welcome to the F1 Word. Now, as you all know, I love a stat and I'm sure there are many of you out there who feel the same. So here is a roundup of some of the stats from the 2018 season. Let's have a look at some of the race winners from 2018 then. It was a great start to the season for Sebastian Vettel with wins in Australia and Bahrain. Daniel Ricciardo took the third win of the season in China, with Lewis Hamilton getting his first win in Baku and following that up in Spain before Daniel Ricciardo won in Monaco. So that was 2 wins in the first 6 races for each of the top 3 teams. Very competitive start to the year. Max Verstappen grabbed his first win of the year in Austria, of course, and Lewis Hamilton very much took control of the championship with back-to-back wins before the summer break in Germany and Hungary. Vettel came back from that break in Belgium with a fantastic win, and it looked as though he was back on form, but Lewis Hamilton, 4 wins back-to-back from Italy to Japan, pretty much defined the championship. Kimi Raikkonen grabbed his first win in 113 races in the US. Verstappen got his second win in Mexico, and then Hamilton ended the season with back-to-back victories. In terms of pole positions, well, there were only 5 pole sitters over the course of 2018. Lewis Hamilton managed to pick up a total of 11, a very impressive total. Sebastian Vettel was 6 further back on 5. Valtteri Bottas and Daniel Ricciardo each got a couple of poles, and Kimi Raikkonen managed to grab himself a pole position as well, and that of course was in Monza. That leads us on to the qualifying battles very nicely then, and there are a couple of surprises in here. At Mercedes, Hamilton beat Bottas 15-6, with the average gap being just shy of 2/10 in Hamilton's favour. Vettel pretty much dominated at Ferrari 17-4 over Raikkonen with 2.5 the gap. At Red Bull, Verstappen beat Ricciardo 15-5. Of course, there are some things involved in that, such as engine penalties, that may sway that Verstappen's way a bit more. But that shouldn't really take away from his Saturday performances, and the average gap was just shy of 1.5 in Verstappen's favour. Hülkenberg beat Sainz down at Renault 13-8 and Grosjean beat Magnussen 11-8. Esteban Ocon wiped the floor on a Saturday with Sergio Perez down at Force India. He won that 16-5 with the average gap just over 1/10. Fernando Alonso whitewashed Stoffel Vandoorne 21-0 with the average gap nearly 0.4 of a second. Charles Leclerc won 17-4 over Ericsson at Saab with the gap just over half a second. At Toro Rosso, Gasly won 13-6. And at Williams, Sergei Sorokin beat Stroll 12-8. But that was very close, less than 1/10 between them. And all of that qualifying information, by the way, came from Sky Sports F1. So who spent the most laps in the lead in 2018? Well, I doubt these numbers will come as too much of a surprise. So it is Lewis Hamilton who tops this list with 458 laps in the lead, followed by Sebastian Vettel. He led for 345. Max Verstappen managed 169 laps in the lead, and his teammate Daniel Ricciardo completed 116. And Kimi Raikkonen comes in 5th place, having completed 92 laps, leading a Grand Prix. If you're wondering about Valtteri Bottas, he completed 84 laps in the lead. But what about the drivers who spent the most laps in 20th place over the course of the season? Well, these stats will be fairly skewed as we didn't have a huge number of races that saw all 20 cars make it to the end, but it's still an interesting one. So Lance Stroll spent the most laps in 20th place on 44, with Brendan Hartley second on 39 and Stoffel Vandoorne on 36. Gasly was 20th for 17 laps in total over the course of the season, and Marcus Ericsson was there for 12 laps. So that's laps in the lead and laps in 20th, but which drivers make the top 5 for the most laps completed in 2018? Well, the top 3 won't come as too much of a surprise, with Lewis Hamilton completing 1,255 laps. Sebastian Vettel is second on 1,248, with the second Mercedes of Valtteri Bottas in third, having completed 1,202 laps. But somewhat surprisingly, Stoffel Vandoorne completed 1,200 laps, just 2 fewer than Bottas, and sits 4th, with Sergio Perez in 5th on 1,196. By the way, the driver who completed the fewest laps over the course of 2018 was Nico Hülkenberg, and that is 936. Next up then, let's have a look at the total number of podiums. Lewis Hamilton tops this one with 17 in total. Kimi Raikkonen is second. Alphabetically, he got 12, but so did teammate Sebastian Vettel. Max Verstappen managed to stand on the podium 11 times in 2018, but Valtteri Bottas, this was a surprise, only managed 8. And in terms of others that made it to the podium, Daniel Ricciardo got 2, which kind of highlights how bad his season was in terms of reliability. And Sergio Perez grabbed the podium as well in Baku. I've done poles, I've done wins, and I've done podiums, so next up naturally is points. I was initially going to go over the stat for overall points finishers, but that will be dominated by the top 3 teams. So instead, let's have a look at the most points finishes outside of the top 6 drivers. And this is one of the biggest surprises out of all the lists I've got here. Carlos Sainz actually tops that with 13 in total, which just goes to show, as I was saying in a live stream just recently, he actually wasn't as bad as perhaps I've been making out. Sergio Perez ended in second place on 12 points finishes. Nico Hülkenberg did end in the championship best of the rest, and he had 11 points finishes over the course of the year, and that is mirrored by Kevin Magnussen. And Charles Leclerc gets 5th spot with his 10 points finishes alphabetically, but Esteban Ocon also managed to finish in the points 10 times in 2018. Next up on my list is fastest laps, and Valtteri Bottas set the most over the course of the season with 7. Daniel Ricciardo was second, having set 4, with Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel both tied on 3 apiece. And it's Max Verstappen who rounds out the top 5 with 2 fastest laps, but Kevin Magnussen and Kimi Raikkonen both grabbed 1 each. Now, one stat that I enjoyed looking into was who excelled when it came to gaining positions during the first lap of the race. Okay, this is a stat that's going to favour those further down the grid, because obviously they've got more cars ahead of them and therefore more cars to overtake. But nevertheless, it is Lance Stroll that tops this with an average of 1.89 positions gained over the course of the first lap, with a total of 36 this season. Max Verstappen was second with an average of 1.65 and a total of 33. Sainz was in third, his average was 1.2 and he got 24 places on the first lap over the course of the season. Sergei Sorokin took 4th place, he gained 1.16 on average and a total of 22. And Pierre Gasly's average is slightly better than Sorokin's at 1.17, but he did gain 1 position fewer with his total being 21. A couple of others to pick out from that list. Charles Leclerc gained half a position on the first lap on average, with a total of 9 over the full season. And Brendan Hartley only managed to gain 0.33 positions on average, with a total of 6. The last of the stats then are the championship tables in full, starting with the drivers. Lewis Hamilton was obviously crowned a 5-time Formula 1 world champion in 2018, and that was with a record-breaking points tally of 408. Sebastian Vettel was second on 320, with Kimi Raikkonen rounding out the top 3 with 251. Max Verstappen was not a million miles away, just a couple of points off third. He got 249. Valtteri Bottas was only 5th on 247, and Daniel Ricciardo, again because of all those reliability problems, was a long way off in 6th on 170. Nico Hülkenberg was best of the rest on 69, just ahead of Sergio Perez, who had a fantastic second half to the season. Kevin Magnussen, one of the big surprises of the year for me, had 56 points. He's inside the top 10. And thanks to a very good result in Abu Dhabi, Carlos Sainz pipped Fernando Alonso to 10th place on 53 points. Alonso dropped to 11th, but still managed to pick up 50 points, which given the second half of the year McLaren had, that's still a pretty impressive tally. Esteban Ocon was a point further back in 12th on 49, with Charles Leclerc picking up 10 points finishes. As I was pointing out earlier, he had 39 points. Romain Grosjean ended the year on 37, with Pierre Gasly on 29 in 15th place. Stoffel Van Dorn, a very disappointing year. He picked up just 12 points and ended up 16th. Marcus Ericsson, one of his better years in Formula 1. He was 17th on 9 points, with Lance Stroll picking up a total of 6 points for 18th place. Brendan Hartley was 19th for Toro Rosso on just 4 points. And Sergei Sorokin scored 1 point for Williams. And I just want to add that 2018 was the first time in Formula 1 history that all drivers scored a point. The final constructors standings then, Mercedes are champions again with 655 points. Ferrari ended the season second on 571, with Red Bull very much on their own on 419 in third. Renault ended the season as best of the rest on 122 points, and in the end were well clear of Haas on 93 points, but what a season from them. They should be very proud with 5th place. McLaren will be disappointed to have finished in 6th place with 62 points, just 10 points more than Racing Point Force India, who had no points when they arrived in Belgium. Sauber were 8th on 48 points, Toro Rosso ended up 9th on 33, and Williams, this kind of sums up their season really. They were cut a long way adrift in the championship, just 7 points from 21 races. But that is it then for the 2018 stats roundup. Again, this is obviously not every stat, and I'm sure there will be some who wanted to see other things on the list. But as I said at the start, I couldn't include all the stats from the season, otherwise the video would have been a very long one. But do let me know your thoughts on some of these, and feel free to share your own 2018 stats in the comment section down below. Now, I will be back soon with more content as ever, but in the meantime, you can follow me over on social media. Links to Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and of course the Discord are all in the description down below. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean, this has been the F1 Word, and until next time, goodbye.